Fire Facilities manufactures steel live fire training towers, customized to meet your training needs. Check us out at FDIC or learn more at firefacilities.com.
In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the Fire Store has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Carnes for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit thefirestore.com today.
Good evening and welcome to another rousing edition of everyone's favorite podcast, everyone's favorite show. It's the David Letterman. It's the Larry. Wait a minute. Let me get this copyright. It's the Larry Conley Radio Show. Yes, I am. Of course, I'm not Larry Conley, thank God, because otherwise I would be having to write several child support checks. But that's nothing we're going to talk about today. That's for next week's show, folks. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here he is, everyone's favorite leader, everyone's favorite guru or gluru. It's Larry Conley.
Thank you. Well, welcome back, and we're back. And I'm gonna tell you, Uncle Larry is not happy. And it's one of the most depressing times of my existence is when it's 19 degrees outside, and that's the high today. It started out, I think it was 1 when I got up this morning, 1 degrees, and it's 19 degrees while we're recording this particular episode. But the sun is always shining. I'm trying to use these positive affirmations, and it's warm somewhere in the world, and it may be cold outside, but it's warm in my heart, and whatever other kind of what kind of guru crap you can come up with to stay warm. All these positive affirmations are now where it's still cold outside. I went out there to get the mail, and so it's not good. But nonetheless, that's why they call it winter. But what I'm glad about is it cold in Atlanta there, David, where you are?
Well, it's relative. The temperature was, and here's the stupid part about Atlanta, it was 70 degrees last week. And this week, today, in fact, it dropped down to 23 this morning. And then now it went up. The high for the day was I want to say 34. And it's supposed to be cold again tomorrow. But, folks, in next week, it will be back up to 70. And so we'll all have pneumonia by the time it's over.
Right. Well, the good thing about in our area here in the Midwest here is in Missouri. I think next week is supposed to be in the 50s, the high 50s, near 60. So that was kind of light at the end of the tunnel after we got about 4 or 5 inches of snow a few days ago. And then the temperature dropped to 1. And it was wind chill of minus 13. And then they said, well, it's supposed to get up to about 19. I was like, I don't feel the difference. It's not like, it's a heat wave.
It's to 90.
Yeah. So anyway, I'm, me, those of you who know me know I'm a tropical brother, in a tropical brother fashion. Then, I'm not enjoying this at all. But I'm going to enjoy being alive. I'm enjoy still being able to feel temperatures like cold and hot, and then praise God for that, and
true.
Praise God for skull caps to keep you warm, because I'm cheap too. I'm keeping down the temperature in the house. Okay. When the kids were here, when they was little, they go to the thermostat with a towel on top. It's cold. Don't touch that. I ain't giving these people no more money than I have to. So I'm cheap.
Times changed. That wasn't how it was when we were kids.
No.
And that's our mother, who's not on this one today.
We can say stuff
she used
about
to be
her
the
now.
one smacking your hand when you go near the thermostat. Now, when you get older, you're like, not that.
Yeah, put a robe on, and a sweater on under your robe. Don't touch that. Don't touch that thermostat. No. But anyway, one thing I don't miss being semi-retired is that when I was doing the St. Louis Fire Department for the 30 years, And we would also have to fight fires in the wintertime, kids. And fighting fire in the wintertime is not fun. Now, some of you might like that stuff. Some of you Minnesota firefighters, some of our North Dakota, some of you who tune in from all over the cold parts of the world who might say, I love it. I never loved it then. And I used to always hate because we'll be watching the news and the meteorologist would say, for the love of God, don't go outside. No matter what you do not go outside. Stay out. It's dangerously cold weather and frostbite and hypothermia and all that. I'll say that makes sense. And then Tammy says that the tones will drop and first alarm fire in the house, and there we go. And we're there for however long it takes to put the fire out. Not fun. And had to mitigate all that slipping and sliding and sub-zero, issues that you had to deal with fighting fires. It was not fun at all. So I miss having the hose in my hand. I miss crawling down halls. I miss all the nuances of firefighting. But I don't miss that. Not at all. not as me and my mother tease, I don't miss it at all. And I don't miss it as short either. So I don't know.
That was I always hated it in the wintertime. It was.
I don't care.
And people say, "Oh, I love winter." I'm like, no. In the summertime, I can cool off. In the wintertime, when you're cold to the bone, it takes days to warm back up.
Bone chilling. You can't do nothing about that when it's bone chilling. So I don't care. People got their preferences and all that kind of stuff. They're like, well, you can always put something on. You can't put on enough when it's 0 degrees outside and you throw in water. You can't put on enough to me. Summertime, like you just said, you could, if it gets too hot, we can take some stuff off. You can hit me with the water hose and we're gonna be good. But no, that's not my favorite time. But you got to have that kind of mental toughness, and that's why all this kind of training and leadership training and hands-on training and all that stuff is important so it doesn't shock your system when it happens. But I do not miss it at all. I think the last fire I fought, it was 14 degrees outside, and with it being 14 degrees outside, we were all frozen. Me and my crew came back to the firehouse. We thawing out. Our coats and everything were just frozen, and the apparatus was frozen. We had to let that thaw out. We almost had to take out the service for a minute so it could unthaw, So that's how bad it can get. But nonetheless, those were some good times and times I miss at times, especially when it's warm outside. But now let me make sure I got this right. I don't like either extreme. If it's extremely hot, like it's 101 with the heat index of hell, then I don't like that. And I don't like extreme cold when it's 1 degrees and the wind chill factor of feels like 23 below. So I don't like any extremes. I can take it in the middle. But if I had to pick one, I'm picking hell. No, I'm just so like, what the hell is going on?
What's funny about that is that in 15 plus years of doing this, I think we've been to a warm climate to teach twice.
Here we go. Here we go with this.
For somebody who is a tropical brother, my brother never goes to a tropical place.
And look, I go where the contracts say. I don't know.
Hey, Dave, we got a contract in Minnesota in January.
Right. I don't understand.
To the tropical, brother.
Yeah.
That's the reason I signed up for this thing. I can hear the steel drums when he asked me about
David, every time we get an assignment, he always said, don't they need glue training in Jamaica, the islands, Aruba or something.
Exactly.
I say, well, we go where the need is, and obviously there's some need in the more in the cold places than there are hot places. Obviously, from our itinerary, But I'm working on it. I'm working on it, But one place is, no matter how cold it is always a great warm place to be. Is our friends at Missouri Winter Fire School, and I'm gonna have to correct myself. I'm gonna correct myself throughout this whole podcast because, see, I live in Missouri. So ever since I've been in the fire service, you hear about the famous Winter Fire School. When I say Winter Fire School, everybody in Missouri knows what you're talking about. It's that place we go in Columbia, Missouri, somewhere around the 1st of February. It's Winter Fire School. It's just how it is. But I found out that other states have Winter Fire School too. So you just can't say Winter Fire School because we don't have the complete brand name on that. It's Missouri Winter Fire School, like it might be Illinois Winter Fire School or, wherever else you live, Winter Fire School. So I have to always correct myself because to me, it's affectionately known as Winter Fire School. Yeah. But if you're in Missouri, if you're not from Missouri, you might be thinking like, you mean Iowa Winter Fire School? You mean California Winter Fire? You mean New Hampshire Winter? No, Missouri Winter Fire School. Yeah. So I don't know if we was the first. I would like to brag about it, like with some flawed facts, and say we were the originators of it. The great firefighters in Missouri once said that years ago, centuries ago, we could use a good fire school to train our firefighters, but I'm sure we don't have any claim on it. But it sure sounds good. So.
Yeah. Well, we did have some great people. Terry Spoor, our first fire school, winter school, was in '84, and Terry Spoor, Bill Margraf, John Sation, Bill Westoff. Those were the instructors. It started out as kind of like you said, there was like, hey, we should be doing something in the wintertime, let's do that. And it started off with that.
Nice.
And going on. Now, I'd say our summer school, we're probably one of the first. It started in 1933. So it's been going for a long time.
Yeah. Cool. No, that's good. 1933. A lot of people like to tease me about being old. Say, it was about the year you were born, right, Larry? Like, shut up. That's not funny. But anyway, well, in today's podcast, we're going to dive into Winter Fire School with my good buddy here, Tracy Gray. And if you know anything about Winter Fire School, or you've been associated with it or been invited to it, everything runs through Tracy, and he's. He's the skipper. He's the quarterback. He's the one to make it happen. He's at FDIC. He's marketing. You see him at FDIC, like, yeah, how you doing? And I say, hey, my name is Tracy Gray. Hey, and then he just hit him, with a a business card, but like, bam! You want to go to Winter Fire School, don't you? Like, excuse me, where'd that card come from? Like a magic trick. So it's amazing how fast they could get those cards out representing, Missouri Winter Fire School. So I saw him do it. I saw him at a function. We were having somebody walked up. And he said, "I look like a great guy to come to Winter Fire School." I said, "I think he would be." He said, "Yeah, well, you think I'm gonna say something to him? I'm Tracy Gray." Bam! I'm like, damn, teach me how to do that. That was just it's amazing. That's why so many instructors, I don't know if they scared or they really want to come. Tracy's gonna get at them. Anyway, So anyway, my good buddy Tracy Gray, we're gonna talk to him a little bit on today's episode and let you know, number one, what Winter Fire School is all about, why it's becoming one of the premier schools to go to teach countrywide. He's going to probably talk about some of the great instructors that come out. And so we're going to ask him a few questions to kind of let everybody know on one of the best kept secrets in Missouri. For all of you think that Missouri is just some flyover state, think again, because the buck stops at Winter Fire School. So come on through. We did Winter Fire School a few weeks ago. Great time, great turnout. The hospitality was great as far as hosting by Tracy and the staff. And then the networking is always great. We have a great time networking with the students, but the instructors that ever pull together a network is always a good time as well. Now, for us in Missouri, we kind of consider it the prequel to FDIC. That's how we get down. I don't know how everybody else does around the country, but it's a prequel to us because a lot of the same instructors that you see at Winter Fire School are going to be FDIC kids. So if you're trying to wait to see them there, come out to Missouri, you're going to see them cheaper, because I'm going to tell you, it's a lot cheaper to go to Winter Fire School in the beautiful downtown Columbia, Missouri, than it is when they jack the prices up at Indianapolis. but it's still a great time nonetheless. So, Tracy Gray, before we get started with our questions and our interview we got about you, kind of give us a background on who this Tracy Gray is. People say, who is Tracy Gray? You know, I thought you said Macy Gray was going to be on the show, but that's no, it's Tracy, not the singer. That's another show.
I wish I had her voice.
But Tracy Gray. Yeah, so give us a little background on Tracy Gray and how you got in the fire service. I think you got a twin brother and all that kind of stuff. So some interesting facts, and then how'd you get started, and you know, take it from there.
Yeah. Well, I do have an identical twin brother, and yes, he's in the fire service as well. He's an assistant chief at a neighboring fire department. I got involved in the fire service in 1990. I graduated high school. A friend of mine, he was volunteering at Fulton Fire Department, and he said, "Hey, you ought to come do this thing." He said, "It's pretty fun, and it's a good way to give back to the community." And so I was like, "Oh, sure." And so got into it, made my first fire, and I was like, "Holy shit, yes, this is what I want to do for the rest of my life." Right. I was blessed to do it, kind of like you. You know, I did it for a little over 30 years, and finally, you know, retired a few years ago from Columbia. But yeah, I started out in small town volunteering, and then when I turned 21, I was able to get a full-time job with City of Fulton Fire Department. Worked 9 years there, and then left there and went to the City of Columbia Fire Department in Columbia, Missouri, and did that. I worked my way up. When I retired as a captain, we had a safety captain. Each shift had a safety officer designated, so I would respond to any calls that I felt like needed a safety officer at. Plus, anytime a chief officer got dispatched, if it was a box alarm or anytime, or if something was on the 4-lane highway, I-70, 63, Providence Stadium, we always went to kind of be that early warning. You know, you can't always rely on law enforcement to get there to start getting people to move over, as you know, nationally, how many apparatus pedestrian accidents we have. So I was glad to do that, and part of that job was training. I've always been kind of passionate about training from early on. I remember coming to winter fire school and summer fire school back in 91, 92, and was just kind of seeing, it was just amazing, especially what winter school was then to what it is today, how it has changed. But it just, everybody you got, here a kid is from a population of 15,000, and you're sitting next to somebody from city of St. Louis taking the same class, learning from the same instructor, and because that's what I always tell folks, fire is fire. It doesn't matter if it's in the city or if it's in the country. You still got to go in there, and you got to find it, and you got to put it out. And so, yeah, luckily, the paid departments, you might have 15, 25 people on scene in a matter of 5 minutes, where when you're on a small volunteer department, there just might be 5 of you. So there is kind of that difference, but it's still, you can still create those friendships with people. And then in 2002, July of 2002, they had a position open at the MU Fire and Rescue Training Institute. It was actually for a regional coordinator. People from Missouri know Gary Woodson, and Gary Woodson was a regional coordinator, and he was stepping down because he wanted to be a fire chief somewhere or do something. And so I applied for that position, went through the interview process, and the associate director at the time was Gary Wilson, and he didn't hire me as a regional coordinator, but 2 months later, I get an email from him, and he said, "Hey, I'd like to talk to you about working for us." And I told him, I said, "I think you got the wrong Tracy Gray. You didn't hire me. You didn't hire me earlier." And so he's like, "No, I got the one, exactly who I want." So I went in, talked to Gary. He said, "You came in, you nailed the interview, and I knew you needed to be on our team, and you need to help Kevin Zumwalt, who at the time was running the conferences." And so in 2003 was my very first winter fire school. And and slowly, and that's the thing, that we were lucky that winter fire school had good bones already in place. Kevin Zumwalt did an excellent job managing the event. I just took what he had and moved forward with it. He gave me I always tell folks, one thing about Kevin was, the leash he gave me was long enough. I can either be successful or I can wrap it around my neck a couple times and hang myself. And so in my 20 years of working with Kevin, probably twice that he told me, "Hey kid, that leash, it's around your neck once. You better get shit figured out because if it gets wrapped around there again, I'm going to have to take care of it. And trust me, you don't want me to take care of the problem." So, been doing it. I love it. It is a great event. It's one of 3 conferences I get to manage. I do love the Winter Fire School because we bring in a full team to help us manage it. They're all just come in that weekend. And it allows me to kind of get out and meet people and meet with our instructors and make sure what we're doing and talk to our students and try to make it better. The sad thing about it is when I started, we would have 3,500 students on campus between 3 buildings. And nowadays, we're right at 1,000. And we just kind of stuck there, and I don't know what to do to make it better. As Larry was saying, our cost, you're not going to find anything any cheaper, in my opinion, because the 3 conferences I manage are all there. Well, one of them is about to be subsidized, but the Winter Fire School and the Instructor Conference, those 2 conferences are tuition based, and that's how we're able to do it. So the students pay, and what the registration fees we charge covers our expenses. We're not in it to make money. We're in it to bring in quality instructors from around the nation and Missouri to talk to the Missouri Fire Service. And so that's part of how we get to keep it down. And plus the instructors, they do it because they love it. There are some instructors over the years that I've reached out to, and I just can't get them because they're too damn expensive. But there are the ones that, you see at the national level, and I'll say, "Hey, look, man, can you come in?" And they're like, "Well, this is what I charge." And I'm like, I can't do it. I said, "This is what I can promise you won't lose money. You'll walk away with a little bit of coin in your pocket. But I need, we can't, if I do that, then, FDIC, there's a reason they charge $600 tuition, because shit, it ain't cheap, especially there. I can't imagine what they pay for the exhibit center, all that, and the amount of people that they have come in and paying for all that stuff. And so I'm like, for me to keep it at this, this year we were at $240 for 12 hours of lecturing, and yeah. So, And on a side note there, when you talk about, we do get a lot of folks that teach at FDIC that do truly use our conference as kind of their pilot program. They kind of take it in there, they run it. They're always like, after they're done, they're like, "Can I get the evaluations? I want to see what people are saying about my class, because if I need to change something, I want to make sure I change it before April, because I don't want to get, in trouble." And then the FDIC didn't always offer the 4-hour format. and they started offering the 4-hour format after Bobby Halton came to our conference and was an instructor. And he sat down with us and he said, how does this 4-hour format work? And then 2 years later, I'm seeing him doing 4-hour formats at FDIC. Yeah. And so
we want some residuals.
yeah. So, and I was at Chief Halton. He was a great guy. He supported our program, just like David, Chief Rhodes is doing. They both, they understand that there's a need for small conferences in your states for those folks that can't make it. And if there's somebody thinking that they're going to compete against FDIC, I'll have what they're having because it's because it's not going to happen. It's not. It is a monster of its own. It is an animal, and so, but we do have a staple for many years, and it broke my heart when Brunacini passed away. He would always come to our event, and he was one of those that. He did it for next to nothing. He loved what we were doing and loved the program. Chief Halton. I mean, just John Norman. Just we've had a lot of folks that have come through that conference. Dave Dotson, Phil Jost, of course the Conley brothers. We get Silvernail, Zeitz. I've met so many different folks over the years. It's just Gagliano, Ann and Mike. They've been there several times. Piscuso, Isaacson. I think Kurt stole some of our information because now he's running these conferences down at Missouri. Missouri's got a good thing going. He said, who the hell who don't want to come down to Pensacola Beach and take a class with us? So, and he gets great instructors and that always makes me feel good that, hey, people are seeing what we're doing in Missouri and they're taking it back to their home state and they're doing it there because there is. There's a need for, and when Chief Rhodes wrote that article in Fire Engineering, over the summer, talking about small conferences and the need for them, and that you still need to support them because if you don't, they're going to go away. And where are you going to get training? Because there are a lot of departments that don't get the training. So I think he understands that also. Like it's kind of like the political spectrum of our country. Everyone, if you always waited to the presidential or the national races to engage, you're missing the boat. You need to be engaged with your local alderman and your local, your local state and all that. And then those are the kind of things that help influence change in Washington, D.C. So if you was to make FDIC Washington, D.C., then what we do at our state levels and our local levels and our local departments and all that, how successful we are there, feeds the firefighters. I'm not necessarily trying to say the ultimate goal is to feed FDIC, but what my point is that when we build those strengths locally, statewide, and all that, you benefit as a state and you benefit as a department, and then in essence, the national fire service bills because when we meet at major conferences like FDIC, it makes it stronger because that kind of whole the rising tide raises all ships scenario kicks in. I'm going to steal that. I love that analogy. I'm going to steal that, Larry.
You can, you heard it here first, folks. So,
that's right. That is, it's so true. Because that's what I tell people all the time. When they freak out and they're on the edge because of what the president did or somebody did in Washington, I'm like, dude, that's not your problem. Your problem's at the local level. You need to make sure that your council, your aldermans, your mayors, those are the ones that you need to make sure that you have on your side because that's where your funding is coming from. It ain't coming from D.C. So I like that analogy. I'm going to use that.
But it also increases the overall kind of knowledge base even on a local level like that. So then when you're talking about considerations for the types of courses and the type of experience that you want to have at a conference like an FDIC now, the demand or the level that they have to reach is higher because everybody's knowledge base is stronger because of conferences like Missouri Fire School, you know.
Yeah. If you can't get it right at home, I wrote an article not too long ago, and that general attitude prevails no matter what. If you can't get it right at home, you ain't gonna get it right in the street. And I figure, like, as instructors and as students, if we can't get it right in Missouri, we're not gonna get it right on the national level as well. So don't always wait for the big show to go learn something. Support your local, fire department, your local instructors, your local and state instructors, and those are the kind of things that's gonna make it better going forward. To that end, Tracy, how do you ensure that the courses stay relevant to the evolving changes of what firefighters face today?
So we do. Part of it is we just reach out to friends in the fire service and ask them, hey, look, do you know somebody? What is going on out there? What's hot? What's the hottest topic? Yeah, we could read trade magazines, but it's also good to call folks and ask them, hey, look, we'll send out a call for classes, and people will email us classes that they're capable of teaching, or they'll, as you say, when I say bam with my business card, I tell them, I'm like, send me your class, send me your course title, your description, how long it is, and we'll try to make it work. And that's why we go around to some of the other conferences and meet people and get to visit with them to try to bring something back to Missouri, and hopefully it's relevant. If not, we try to find something else that we try to get in there. But and we have a command staff, so. What we do is our fire school, we kind of run it like an incident. We have an incident commander, we have logistics, operations, and planning staff. And so each one of those, they break down into ground support, liaisons. And so, everybody fills this role, and we manage that conference. And I think that's why it's run so well, is because we use the same system that our folks use every day when they're on the job. And the guys on the command staff are still on the job. They're still fighting those fires. They're still doing the training sessions on Thursday nights or whatever night it might be at the house. And so, and anytime I sit down with somebody, I ask them, I'm like, hey, what can we bring to Missouri? What do you guys want to see? What are we lacking? That's part of the nice thing about just coming off of winter school. A lot of the folks, our students, are like, I don't know, Tracy, you guys do such a great job. I wouldn't know what to have you come in. I'm like, well, if there's somebody, because I'm not a TikTok person, social media guy. I do it just to promote our programs, but I don't sit for hours on end. I don't have a TikTok account, but I do have a Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. Yeah. So I do try to ask them, like what's out there? What are you all hearing? And if it is, and so we'll review them. I'll do a little background check sometimes, because as you know, what you see on, sometimes you'll get somebody on a social media page that the way they're acting, they act like they were commanding, 100 people on the fire ground, and they got, multi-story buildings, and they're running, 50,000 calls a year kind of stuff. And then you do background check on them. You're like, this guy's
he's a poser.
Yeah. So, but we do our due diligence and try to find out. So some of them, like David McGlynn, I called Chief Silvernail, and I said, hey, look, I'm looking for somebody for our instructor conference. He's like, oh, dude, he said, you got this David McGlynn guy. He's great. He's writing his book. He's all about training stuff. And so that's how I first met Chief McGlynn. And so that's how we get a lot of them. It's just word of mouth.
Word of mouth.
And once we get them there, then they're hooked. They're like, holy shit. Yeah, I want to be part of this.
Yeah.
Because we have been there are instructors that teach at FDIC and teach for us, and they're like, you guys have a mini FDIC in Missouri and nobody knows
Yeah.
it. And I'm like, you're right. We do. I feel like, cause our expo, Gail in our office, she handles the expo side of it. We have 100 vendors. There'll be over 300 vendors in there walking around. We average between 3,000 to 4,000 people walking through that expo. The vendors love it because it's a 1-day expo. The show opens at noon and it closes at 8. This year, I talked to some of the vendors Saturday morning, and they said it was one of the best shows that they've had for the last few years because of they said the people that hold the purse came to the expo this year, where in the past, it's the tire kickers. But they said it was a good expo, and we have a waiting list. We sell out. So as soon as the door opens, Gail goes around and she starts signing people back up, and we're already sold out for the 2026 conference.
Nice.
And so it is the largest expo in Missouri for emergency service personnel. You can come and see, anything. It's quite an event. And the nice thing is the hotel, unfortunately, people want it to be bigger. Well, we can only be as big as what our footprint is. And the only hotel that's that big is where we're at. We can't go to any other, we can't go to, they talk about campus. Well, from year to year, we don't know if there's a basketball game that's going to be happening.
Right.
So you can't do an agreement and then all of a sudden, you can't get in there because they got a basketball game going on that night.
Right.
So,
so and you ain't gonna win that fight. So.
No.
Not Mizzou basketball. No.
Powerful money with that. Yeah.
Yep. So.
Talking about different types of training, though, I know there's there's been a push in a lot of recent years for, wellness, emotional, mental wellness. Are you seeing, being on the cutting edge of the training part of that, like a shift in how different departments are prioritizing that? And, are you guys doing something with a focus that sort of aligns with that at all? Or?
So, yes, we've done. Luckily for us, our Missouri State Fire Marshal, Tim Bean, is on top of making sure, like cancer, he supports the cancer, he supports the mental illness, he supports, women in the fire service. He this year at Firefighter Day at the Capitol, he's wanting to focus on spouses because sometimes the spouses kind of get left in the background and so, but yes, we do try to have some type of, luckily, we got Sarah Janke in Missouri, and Sarah is a huge supporter, does a lot of research, and, she's great to get a hold of and talk to and say, hey, look, let's, what can we do? And she's always comes up and, this year we did a firefighter health and safety on Friday at the expo. We did 3 1.5-hour classes, and they were well received. And from going in there and talking to the students, they were glad. And it was amazing how many students that stayed for the whole weekend. They came on Friday, sat through those 3 classes, and then took the classes all weekend long. So it worked out great. Yes, we see. One thing I'm blessed with is I'm also the plans chief for the National Fallen Firefighters Memorial Weekend. Mm-hmm. So when we go to Emmitsburg, I see the families and I see how all that stuff is happening, and it allows me to talk to different counselors that they have there on campus that weekend. And so, we try to. It's not a sexy topic, and firefighters don't want to sign up for it. But, we see a need for it. And, if we have 5 people or if we have 50, we're still going to run it because it's it's just something that FRTI, fire rescue training, feels like we need to have. We gotta make sure that our fire service stays healthy mentally
Right.
and physically. And that's one thing.
You want to have to offer it regardless. You know what I mean? Some people might not intend to go at first, but could change their minds, and just knowing that it's there for the folks is something that, it's got to be a comfort whenever they, come around to it to whatever degree.
Yeah. And that's one thing that my son actually just started in the fire service. He started with City of Columbia a couple of weeks ago. Never thought, he was a sports kid, did sports all his life. Actually worked for the St. Louis Cardinals. And he said, nah, I don't feel like I'm contributing anything. And so he's making me proud that there are some young guys that still want to do it and want to civic. You don't feel like there's that many people want to do civic duties, but I'm concerned about him and what he's going to see. And one thing that I did for him and his wife, I bought Ann and Mike Gagliano's firefighter marriage book. And I said, both of you need to read this. I said, because he's going to come home and you're going to see that he's not being nice to you. And it's not because he wants to be that way. He just had a bad day at work. He ran on something that's affected him. So give him a little space and let him do it. And the other book I got him was the Pride and Ownership by Rick Lasky. And I'm like, when he told me he wanted to be a firefighter, I was like, dude, I said, you know how much our family loves you, but I tell you what, the firefighter family, it's a different love, and it's a best family. And I said, I'm so blessed that the good Lord allowed me to be a firefighter, because there's a lot of people that can't do and be part of what we see on a regular basis. And so, and I do think that the mental health side of it is something that we got to keep an eye on, because I saw it in Columbia. A lot of the young guys, they weren't ready for that. Being gone for 48 hours straight, they weren't ready to see, death like they would see it. As Larry working for St. Louis, I-70 and those 4-lane highways, people ain't driving slow on them. And typically when you have an accident, the outcome is usually not good. And so, we definitely, and it's incorporated. You see a lot of fire department academies including this now into their programs. A lot of them have EAP that you can reach out to and visit with. So
No, that's important to know, and I think more than ever, because I don't know. I mean, not that, and we're finding out now that we were more. We were insidiously infected by the ills of mental health without even knowing it, because we just learned how to cope, just get over it kind of deal. And that lasted for a long time. And now that we're recognizing it, but I don't think that with our the new culture of upbringing, it handles it the same, and so I think that it's really important now to double down on that type of intentional attention to it, because they just don't process it with the same things from the people who taught us. The people who taught us was kind of those World War II people, and and Vietnam people. You see it here, you see it here rolling down the highway, just chalk it up and what's for dinner, So everybody doesn't process it that way. But I'm glad that as an industry, we're finally are paying attention to it, to continue to heal people who never had this opportunity early in their career, and for those who come in behind us who probably never had those type of experiences, but they're not blindsided when they see it and don't know where to put that, how to process it. How would you say you could prepare young firefighters? How can young firefighters use Wonder Fire School as a stepping stone for leadership roles
Yeah. Well, so, and this is just identifying that there is, Chief Holton used to always say, there's thousands of books written on leadership. And so how do you get that information? And it's all on how you try to find that person that you can relate to the way they speak to you. Cause everybody has their different interpretation. So try to find that person and follow what books they write and if they have TED Talks or any of that kind of stuff, and look outside. For me, I looked outside of the fire service. The military has a ton of books that you can read on leadership, and so and I would read books, through from the Army to the Navy to the Air Force, and they all
make
had
your bed.
yeah, yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I still do that today. I'm like, it's the old saying, you can eat an elephant, but you got to do it one bite at a time. And that's kind of the same thing, start out small and work your way up. So the young ones, and then find some, for the old salty guys, you need to sit down and help them. Don't be sitting in the recliner watching TV all the time. Take them out. One thing that as a company officer I always like to do is I would go out and the new guy and I would just wipe the truck down, grab a chamois, let's go out and polish the truck and talk to them and get to know them and have that connection with them and find out what kind of what their background is, because we're pulling people from all over the country in different backgrounds. You don't. So you got to sit down and learn. That was my thing was I always loved being on the engine, loved driving. And so I always talk about my toolbox and how, I make sure the tools in the toolbox are ready to go because that's our job. And as I'm talking to them, a Toyota Prius is the biggest thing they've ever driven. And so you're like, okay, we got to work on this because, now you're driving around in a 40,000 pound apparatus that's 50 feet long. And so, yeah, we need to make sure that we slowly take them and on the weekend, go to a parking lot and drive around, show them how to come to turns, stoplights, how to go through an intersection. Just biggest thing is take time with them. And one thing I always tell folks, because they would get pissed off because they might come out of recruit school and they don't feel like, the old salty guy might not feel like that guy. That student right there, this probie, doesn't know enough. And so I'm like, you have a child. I said, when that child's born, what does he know? Nothing. He knows how to eat, shit, and cry. That's it.
Right.
That's the same thing when you get a person, like my son. I know he's new. He's never done none of this.
Right.
So when he comes out of recruit school, he's going to have to find somebody to help kind of mentor him and be that because he doesn't know. And so luckily he's got an old man and he's got an uncle that, been on the job and we can kind of talk to him. I talk to him almost every night to kind of see how recruit school went and what he's learning and making sure what he's learning is right. And what chapter are you on in ISTA and what are you studying? And is there anything I can do to help you with the process? But yeah, I used to always tell whenever.
Is he receptive to that help?
Yes, he is.
A lot of times they are these days. Oh, that's good. Yeah.
Yes, he is. Because for one, because I told him, I'm like, hey, I don't know. I feel like I left my name when I left the fire service in a good place. I said, don't go in there and F it up.
Right.
Because that's the only thing we have control of.
We don't want any gray areas,
Yeah. That's what I always told them. Both my kids growing up, I'm like, there's one thing you control, and it's your name. And you can either your grandparents, your great grandparents, your great great grandparents, they have taken care of that name, and we want to make sure you're taking it, and we're raising you right so that you can continue on with that tradition of our name. And so that's kind of the same thing there with him in the fire service. I'm like, hey man, you know, we're starting a legacy here. You know, you're the second kid in the generation here that's doing this. So maybe your kids will want to do it. Who knows? And so forth and so on. So yeah. But he'll ask me, he'll even, if I'm busy and I don't call him, he'll call me and say, hey, I just want to let you know, this is what we did today. You know, I was able to get my gear on within 60 seconds and less. Nice. Did it in 45 or something like that. I'm like, well, good deal. So
yeah. Getting that validation from his dad. So that's cool.
Yeah.
When since you kind of got your hand on the pulse of running things at fire school and hopefully continue for years to come, and you wanted to stay relevant, how do you see firefighter training evolving in the next 5 to 10 years?
So what I hope, and you know, in MU fire training, we do have one of these. You know, we have the goggles and the VR stuff. And, you know, we were the first ones in Missouri to do it. The gentleman that's helping us was the same person that helped with Grand Theft Auto. And so their development, I see it kind of going down that road some. There is a cost to that. The online learning, it seems like we might be kind of going away from it because we saw that it has a place, but it can't take over training. And so I still think that keeping your skills and honing them in, trying to build those small props that you can have around the firehouse that you can go out when you have downtime. One thing that I was trying to do when I was in Columbia was to get a forcible entry prop at every firehouse. And so that, if not at every firehouse, but geographically at least, so that, hey, if you got some downtime, go over to, 7 House and spend 30 minutes on do some forcible entry training. You don't have to go to the academy to do it. Let's do it out here at the one. I was part of a new design on a firehouse right as I was walking out the door. And, there was training things that we got implemented that was never done before at other firehouses. We got a bailout prop that we included into it. We did confined space. We did a traditional stairway that comes up to a change of direction so you can practice dragging hose and hose handling. And so there was a few other props that I wanted to see in there, but I was just glad that they incorporated something so that at that firehouse, if you got some downtime and you have a new person, because Columbia was one of those, we got a lot of turnover and it's growing, not so much turnover, we're building new houses and we got to hire people to take those young guys and gals and sit down with them and work with them and say, hey, look, here's, because that's some of the stuff, when I'm talking to Luke, he'll say, he might forget a phrase and then I'll help him. I'm like, well, this is what it stands for, or that's what it stands for. And so you can take that, help beat it into him. So I'm hoping that we get back to where we hone in on our skills and continue to work on that and not try to do everything with our online learning, because it does have a place. For those that have EMS in your department, the online learning works okay. It's an easy way for you to document your hours so that in 5 years when you have to redo your license, all that stuff is captured. We used it in Columbia because City of Columbia is an accredited fire department, so they were able to capture your hours. As a company officer, you had to go in there each day, type, hey, pick your selections on what you did, so that you met your monthly training, so that we could continue to keep that accreditation. And their goal was Columbia was to always be an ISO 1, and as part of being ISO 1 is training, and so. but you still need to go out. Just because you watched a YouTube video, let's say we're watching a YouTube video on reading smoke with Phil. That's a great video, but also we need to go out and look at those structures in your run box and try to identify, okay, this structure here, if we had smoke blowing out on this side, the Charlie side or something, how can we do that? And in the volunteer, I was reading an article, and I can't remember if it was Firehouse or Fire Engineering or which one it was, but they were just talking about how more and more the volunteer fire service is kind of going away, and they're going with paid departments, the cities absorbing those organizations because they just can't get the manpower like they used to.
Right.
And so part of it is to demand. I could tell you, as when I was a child, we didn't run all over the countryside doing stuff, but both of my kids, they were in competitive sports, and dadgum, there was 8-9 years there that I couldn't tell you what the hell we did, but I know we were someplace every weekend doing something. So, so it's hard. It's hard for those young families.
Yeah. No, it's understandable. Like you said, we need that. You need to be clicking on the whatever your learning management system is for tracking, but keep everything where it should be. That's for tracking. It's a convenient way to get information when the weather could be fickle. But I know when I was doing deputy chief of training, I always tried to make sure that what you learned on that learning management system connected something hands-on that you had to go do. So you had the cognitive and psychomotor need to be. And if you did one without the other, then you wasn't getting a complete training experience. So you can't get out here and really train with your hands without no direction. And nobody cares if ISO comes in to look at your stuff and say, well, we did forcible entry last Tuesday. Well, where is that listed, or how do we know you covered every nuance of that? Well, you're just going to take our word for it, so you can't do that. But you can't sit up there and read about it on the computer the whole time and then never put your hands on, because that's not going to help you when the real deal comes, when you really do have to do forcible entry. So they need to work in hand, and anybody who's just doing one or the other is really doing their training a disservice,
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's it goes back to, part of the conferences. That's what's great about these conferences that these states have. A winter fire school and a summer fire school is you are able to, some of the classes we do, we do the book part of it at winter, and then you come to summer school and you're seeing the flip side of that. Yeah. So that's
good stuff.
Yeah, it's a benefit of going in. And the nice thing is too, then you have a certificate that you can scan and they can put in your folder at the firehouse in your personnel file, so that you can that when you do get audited, you can say, well, yeah, this guy, he's got this many hours of training. So.
Yeah, we do that. We touch a bit of that when we do our class that we're actually doing the FDIC this year called tightrope, and that tightrope is walking that balance between efficiency and effectiveness. And efficiency is making sure that, like you said, stuff is scanned, is put in your record, is audit. You're ready for the audit. You're ready for all the boxes you have to check at the firehouse. And the effective part of it is what you do in the street. There's all that stuff that you got scanned amount to anything, because you know how to do what you have, listed as your training. So, so organizations that and officers and people responsible for training who know how to walk that tightrope are the ones that's going to be the best, get the best results for their agency. As we start to kind of wrap things up, what did you hope all the attendees walked away with after going through winter fire school this past session?
Yeah, so that. I do ask if I see somebody walking to their car on Sunday afternoon. I mean, like, hey, what class did you take? And they would be like, oh, we took this class, that class, and I was like, so did it meet your expectation? Like, holy, yes, it met it, and then some. I was going into it with this mindset, but I'm walked away and my mind is blown. And so I'm like, great, that makes me feel good. And then there's times that they'll be like, no, I read the description, but they didn't really touch on that subject. And that was the main reason I wanted to be there. So that always makes me feel a little bad that we want to make sure that the description and the class that is going on meet hand in hand. But I always ask them, like, tell me 3 things that you remember from the class, and they'd be like, oh, he talked about, the let's say the reading smoke, that, when that thing is breathing, get ready because something's about to happen, or dark smoke versus light smoke, or we do EMS refreshers, and they learn something on how to, patient packaging that they didn't know that they could do that with what they had. So yeah, just when they walk away and I ask them what 3 things that they would say was good about the class, and I mean, they just hop them off just like that. That always makes me feel good. And then this year, I tell you, there was more first timers this year. I stopped into a couple classes just to kind of introduce myself and see if everything was going good. And I would ask the students, I'd be like, so how many of you, is this your first time here? And one class, 3/4 of the class raised their hand. And I was like, holy shit. Yeah. I was like, oh, thank you guys so much. I was like,
right. Go spread the word.
We want to, yeah. And I'm like, I hope we met your expectations, especially the first time people, because that's who's going to continue to come back. Yeah, and I'm like, I hope, what classes did you take? And I hope they were kick ass. And everybody's like, this year it just seemed special that I truly, negativity wise, I did not see anything or hear anything. And that's, people always ask me, how do you judge winter fire school? Was it good or bad? And I'm like, well, for me, the way I judge it is, did a student, because we're going to have problems. Everything has problems. Sure. I can't go in there thinking it's going to run smooth. We try to anticipate and make sure everything is okay, but the human factor kicks in and something happens. But I judge it by, did the students see it? If the students don't see that we had a problem, that it was a success, because, the old saying of the duck in water, where their head is just calm as could be as they're going around, but their little feet under the water is working its ass off as it's moving around. That's kind of that's what we do. We want that water to stay smooth and that duck just to be chilling, but underneath, and that's part of getting a good team together and working with them. So, yeah. And I'm excited too. Our summer school, we kind of mentioned something about our summer school. And this year, I'm hoping everything is set for it to go live on Monday. So I'm hoping that is still the case. As we know, technology doesn't always work out the way our expectations are. But this year, about 80% of our classes are free because of the Missouri Division of Fire Safety worked with us in a partnership to offer these classes to the students at no cost, because and one thing that the Missouri Fire Service is going to see different is this year it's a month-long school. So where before, it was either the first week in June or the last week in May in kind of that area. But last year it was such a decline, and it's been going for 90. I think this might be our 95th year, and something had to change. And so we went around. We went to the Firefighters Association of Missouri. We went to MoChiefs. We went to the State Fire Marshal's office. We went to the Education Commission. We went to our regional coordinators. MUFRTI has an advisory board, and went to all those and just kind of talked about what do we need to do to make this event change. And so Chief Brown from down in Eureka, I was at the Education Commission meeting, and he said, well, it sounds like you, Greg Landwehr, and yourself need to get together and see what we can do to help support this program. And so that's what I did. I ended up sitting down with the Division of Fire Safety, Greg Landwehr, and Chief Bean. And yeah, we came up, and they're supporting it because part of the problem is, there is education funds out there for fire departments through the Division of Fire Safety. But what happens is those departments can't get enough students to have the class to be a go, because there's a minimum for safety.
Yeah.
You have to, you need to have 15 people in there for safety reasons.
Right.
On these hands-on classes. And so, yeah, we sat down and talked. It was like, hey, look, the nice thing is we're Central Missouri. People can drive, these departments that can't get 15 people, they can drive down and the class will be a go. And so that's one thing we're excited about our summer school. So it's May 5th through June 1st this year.
Nice.
So keep an eye out. Go to our website. Hopefully it's online Monday, and we're able to get classes. So
yeah, that's what I was going. That's what I was going to kind of start the part with, was make sure that you left some contact information so people can know about Summer Fire School, and do you have any ongoing stuff that you keep out there on social media or whatever, so people can, even because now is the time to prepare for Missouri Fire School. You just don't have to be living in Missouri to come to Missouri Fire Winter or Summer Fire School.
Yeah.
Even if you want to go to Winter Fire School next year, you start preparing now. You don't have to be from Missouri to come. You want to come from another state to come through and check us out.
So we had 20 different states represented this year at our fire school. Between faculty and students, there's 20 different states. And so every state that touches Missouri comes.
Right.
And then we had a person from Alaska that was webcasting our webcast classes. So yeah. So we're pretty proud. We out of Missouri has 114 counties. And I think I counted up that I think we had 75 counties represented at fire school. So
good time. Well, cool. Well, man, this has been pretty informative, and I'm glad we're able to continue to support and get things on the map. David and I always enjoy coming up and hanging out. And I know I've been up a few times where the weather been kind of dicey, but this time we've had a pretty good stretch. It might be really cold, but it's not nothing that stops us from coming, hanging out, learning, and having a good time. And,
we've never canceled. We've never in all the 43 years, we've never canceled a fire school, even during COVID. Yeah, when we had COVID. We didn't cancel it. We did 33 classes. We webcasted everything.
I remember that. Yeah, David and I did. That was kind of, we had to set up chat rooms for our breakout sessions and all this. So we've been through it.
Yeah,
So,
I've been there with a shovel before, shoveling the sidewalk because we had 24 inches of snow on the ground.
Right.
We've never canceled.
Adapt and overcome.
Absolutely.
Yeah, but well, good stuff, and looking forward to seeing you at FDIC in about 7 weeks, and see you hang out. I can't wait, boy. We're gonna be at one of those socials and see Tracy. I'm gonna go get him, man. I'm gonna get that guy. Say, who are you? I'm Tracy Gray with Winter Fire School. You should come check it out. But you got him. Bam! I got the information right there. So I can't wait to hang out with you there and have a good time like we always do. So let's do that. And like I said, how can they? What's the website for you?
So our website's mufrti.org, and that is. And I understand our website is not desirable, but it is managed by the university, and we have no say so. So we always tell folks we do have a presence on social media. So if you go to our Facebook page, I think it's MU Fire and Rescue Training Institute. Our Instagram, it might be MU_FRTI, and the same thing for our Twitter account. But we do have, you can go to our website, and on the right side of the screen, if you scroll down, under, I think it's staff or something like that, there is an option. You can give us your email address. And so when you put your email address in there, we capture it, and then we send, we do, sometimes weekly newsletters. And so like whenever summer school is ready to go hot, we'll send that out. But you'll see it on our socials media site. So I recommend going if you're. We don't, like I say, we don't have TikTok, but we do have Facebook, Instagram, and X. I call it
Yeah,
Twitter. I meant to say X.
right.
So go to
All
those
the old folks
pages.
stuff they call it now. The young kids
Yeah,
go, "You're
Right,
still
right,
on the Facebook?
right,
Yeah, that's old, you know."
yeah,
right.
And
yeah,
then
yeah,
the old people when we start saying, I caught what you were saying on the Facebook." You be like, you don't have to
Right,
put D in front of it,
exactly.
just
Right.
Facebook, you know.
yeah,
But yeah, and then also they got cool swag too. So when you come, you can get cool swag when you come there too. Some of the coolest.
yeah.
So take the name brand back home with you when you go
That's
to
right.
Yeah,
these adjoining
100%.
states and all, you know. But anyway, cool. Dave, you got anything to wrap things up with?
Oh no, just like you said, every time we go in Winter Fire School, we have a ball. It's always, everybody there is like family. That's what it feels like. And so we just always have a good time. Everything from teaching the course and meeting new people to, shooting the breeze and kicking and laughing and talking with folks that we get to see every year when we're eating or, in the exhibit hall or whatever. I commend you. It's not, an easy undertaking. That's not lost on us when we're there. Just that you you and the team put in a heck of a lot of work to bring some really good stuff to people and things that folks need to, better themselves. So, hats off to you for your dedication to that and your continued dedication to it. And so, in that way, you're one of my heroes. So, thanks for being our guest. And we
Thank you
look
for the
forward to
kind
seeing
words.
you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, man. See you at FDIC.
And then,
Yeah.
and then I'll just say, hey, like I said, it's always been a pleasure. Winter Fire School was one of those things I ended up attending as a young firefighter, and then had the pleasure of one day being the instructor there. So I like the full circle approach to it, and being able to not only learn, but also and still sit in classes when I get a chance to, and learn from some of the great minds that you're able to bring to mid Missouri in the dead of winter. So that you're good when you're able to bring people from around the country in the dead of winter to mid Missouri. So yeah, we do have to commend you for that. For you to have people to come out. Tracy Gray is able to come out, David, and have people come out and hang out in the gray area, if you see what I did there.
Yeah.
I'm here all week,
The gray area.
I might not be happy with
Sadly.
winter, but I'm still corny,
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but hey, brother, we'll see you in a couple of weeks up in Indianapolis. Bring a jacket because sometimes it's still cool in April. It's the beginning of April this year, so it might be still a little cool. When you come up to Indianapolis this year, kids, you'll see us. We're going to be doing live. I think our next broadcast might be live from Indianapolis for the when we do the podcast there. So look for us. They got a great. I love the way they made it like kind of on the corner, in front and center, so you can see great people walking by. You might see Tracy walking by while we're doing it, and give them a wave. And we're going to try to get one of our guests to be one of the keynote speakers there this year. We'll let you know who that is soon enough. And come on out. If you ain't put your duckies together for FDIC, there's still time. Hey,
Sell some candy bars on the corner.
sell some candy, some TJ's pieces, and grab about 10 of your friends and split that cost. So it could be $8 a person for the hotel room, and get some skins and some M&Ms and some munch on, because the food could be expensive up there. They do have a White Castle there, so you're good. You got Steak and Shake downtown, so you can make it work if you really want to go. So load up your friends and come on out to Indianapolis and hang out at the family reunion. Come to check out David and I. For those of you who have paid for the pre-conference, we're going to be doing our pre-conference on Tuesday afternoon. David and I are honored to speak at the Women in Fire conference, which is going to be Tuesday morning. And then our classroom is going to be bright and early, 8:30 in the morning on Friday. You're going to be talking about that tightrope again. So we got a busy week. So between the times we have to speak and the podcast, and just a general networking and hanging out. It's going to be a busy week, but it's going to be a great week. And looking forward to the biggest family reunion of firefighters all around the country, and in most cases from around the world. Is the FDIC in beautiful downtown Indianapolis, Indiana. And it's going to be that first week in April. So come on through and check it out. And hey, if you see us, stop us in the hall and let's shake hands and talk and grab a beverage as the fire chief of Indianapolis, Ernest Malone. Go to one of our establishments and have a cold beverage. I was say Ernest but it's always a great time. David Rose is doing a great job so far, taking the reins after we lost our dear friend Bobby Houghton. But the show must go on, and he's doing a great job with that. Had to throw that in, wink, wink, so we could stay relevant in this podcast. Wink, wink, no. But seriously speaking, everything is going well and everything's going great. Great classes and a great time. So come on, hang out. And that's when we'll see you the next time. So what you going to say then?
Ready to register for summer fire school too, because that's coming up, right?
Yeah. What are the dates again? You said you're going to start
I think it's May 4th or May 5th through May 5th through June 1st.
Okay, yeah. So
we
go on the information and check that out on the information.
Yeah. And don't be all proud. Let's not act like you're not used to having to go to summer school.
Yeah. Right. It's okay. We won't judge you.
We don't judge.
We don't judge. Yeah. Just show up and have a good time. We won't tell, we won't make fun of the bus you're riding on to get there, Right. But anyway, so David and I think we got a couple of assignments that we're going to be traveling around Missouri doing before we get to FDIC. So looking forward to that in March. And I always kick off, we kick it off with Winter Fire School. And I know that training is year round, but for David and I always feels like that after the new year, we kick it off with Winter Fire School. And then after that, between the different assignments and FDIC and call homes, EDI in June and a host of other places we travel around the country, it always seems the kickoff is Winter Fire School. So we get ready for a great 2025, and we'll see you out there on the road and keep training and stay safe and stay warm. Get you one of these. Stay warm. So we'll talk to you later and see you on the Larry Conley Radio Show. Good night.
Bye-bye.
Fire Facilities manufactures steel live fire training towers, customized to meet your training needs. Check us out at FDIC or learn more at firefacilities.com.
In firefighting and public safety, reliability is key. For over 20 years, the Fire Store has equipped first responders with trusted gear featuring brands like MSA Cairns for helmets and Seek for thermal imaging cameras. Stay prepared. Visit thefirestore.com.